Yep. Sorry about that.
I haven't seen that notice that formal in my Zoom world, so you guys are a whole nother level.
That just
That,
started recently. It's
Yeah.
kind of a pain, I have to say, but I think it's probably good.
yeah, it's actually the first time I've seen that too, so we're not that far ahead.
There we go. Well, we have 2 board members. A few more to go for a quorum. There's one now. Hey, Tim.
Hey there.
Jenna. Hi, Jenna. We need 2 more board members. There's Doug. Hey, Doug.
Hello.
Just waiting for one more board member so we can get going.
Hi, Tracy.
And there's Carolyn. Okay, we officially have a quorum. Tim, do you want to get started now or do you want to wait a couple minutes? A few more people had responded that they were coming, but you never quite know with everyone's crazy schedules.
And I see Carolyn. So how many do we have right now? How many board members do we have?
We have 5.
And then are we expecting Sheriff Harlow?
Yes, we are.
Great.
I was just going to text her actually.
Oh, great. Right. Maybe we can get started.
She's joining
Oh, she
momentarily.
is. Great. Well, then we'll wait for her.
And there she is. Hi,
Hey, Sheriff.
Jen.
All
Hi,
right.
sorry about that.
No worries. So yeah, Siri, if you want to, okay, so we're already recording. That's good. By joining this call, you consent to being recorded. We'll get the meeting started. So I'd call this meeting to order. Good to see everyone. And yeah, Siri, do you want to do a little intro?
Sure. Hold on, still letting people in here. Yeah, I thought we would do what we normally do, sort of go around and have everyone just very briefly introduce themselves, and I will get started. I'm Siri Rooney, the SIU Grants Program Administrator, and let's start with Tim and kind of go around from there.
Tim Leaders-Dumont, Executive Director and the department and chair of this board. And good to see everyone. And I'll pass it to, I see Tricia. And just identify if you are a board member or not, just so people are aware.
Good morning. I'm Trish Black. I'm not a board member. I'm the executive director at the Addison County SIU.
Maybe we'll move to Christopher.
Hey, Chris Barber, captain with the state police.
And I believe new board member, right?
I think so, yeah.
Great. Well, welcome and thank you for being with us. And then we'll move it to Matt Hill.
Good morning, Matt Hill, not a board member. I am the new fiscal director for the state's attorneys and sheriffs. I'm about to finish up my first month here, so I'm learning a lot and looking forward to learning more about this board. Thanks.
Yeah, Matt, we're very excited. Matt's here providing so much support. And for the longest time, our department, which has 4 different budgets, had a single part-time fiscal officer. So now we have a business officer, a fiscal director. We're slowly trudging our way into the 21st century. And Matt has just been incredible. And we got him on board right before the end of the fiscal year. So we know how to have a good time. So it's coming right before we close out the books for the year. So thank you, Matt. Welcome. And Ted Brady.
Hi, I'm Ted Brady. I'm the executive director of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I am a board member.
Stephanie.
My name is Stephanie Slayton. I'm the executive director at the Family Place and the Windsor County SIU.
Thank you, Stephanie. Jenna.
Hi there, I'm Jenna Caslin, and I'm the Executive Director at the Bennington County Child Advocacy Center.
Thank you, Jenna. Lauren.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Lauren Clemens. I am the Director of Operations and Labor Relations for the Department of State's Attorneys and Sheriffs. Not a
Great.
board member.
Doug.
Douglas Farnham, Chief Recovery Officer representing Agency of Administration. I do have to apologize. I do have to go at 10:30 for another meeting.
We'll try to be very quick and get some good votes in before you leave. And Carolyn.
Hey everyone, I'm Carolyn Hansen with the Attorney General's Office.
Thank you.
I am a board member.
Yes. Dan Boyer.
Sorry, Dan Boyer, Interim Executive Director at the Chittenden CAC, not a board member.
Thanks, Dan. Sheriff Harlow.
Good morning, everyone. Jennifer Harlow, Sheriff of Orleans County, and I'm a current board member.
And Tracy, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Tracy Patno. I am the Executive Director of the Lamoille County SIU, and I am not a board member.
But a recovering member of our central office staff. Good to see you. Hey, Samantha.
Good morning, Samantha Shagnon, Director of the Northwest Unit for Special Investigations, and I am not a board member.
Thank you, Samantha. And Lynn Renee Brochu.
Not a board member, Executive Director of the Orleans County Child Advocacy Center, Special Investigation Unit.
Great. Well, thank you so much for folks being here. First order of business for board members would be to, everyone took a look at the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to approve of the agenda for today.
To approve.
Hey, Carolyn moves. I hear second.
I'll second that.
Second from Jen Harlow. Any discussion? Great. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand. Wonderful, thank you. Secondarily, reviewing and approving the minutes of April. I hear a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Doug. I hear a second.
Second.
Second from Ted. Any discussion? Okay, great. All those in favor say aye. Okay, I should have said it before for the agenda, but any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, great. We'll move on and we'll move right into just a brief review of the awards for FY26 from Siri Rooney, our staff.
Thank you, Tim. And I'm going to have Matt screen share here for me. He has graciously agreed to help me with this so I don't mess everything up for you folks. And thanks everybody for being here. And I wanted to welcome Captain Barber as the new board member. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your time and commitment. So this is just a summary of what was requested for FY26, what was actually granted or approved in FY26, and then you can see what is being requested for FY27. Most of the board members will remember that we voted in FY26 to cap the grant requests for program support at 120,000 because we were sort of all over the map with requests. There were, as you can see, Caledonia was requesting 90,000. Some other counties were requesting 144,000. It was just kind of all over the place, and we did not have the funds. And again, we don't this year have the funds to support the high requests. So we decided that the best course of action would be to cap at 120,000, which seemed to work pretty well. And then we let the programs know this year that we would be instituting the same cap, which I think made it easier for people to build their budgets because they had that information ahead of time. So we're just kind of trying to move toward a goal of a more equitable distribution of the grant funds because the current data and statistics really don't warrant such vast discrepancies in funding. So, you can see here that most of the programs, looks like 8 out of the 12 programs are requesting 120 and the other 4 is pretty close. So it was a little bit easier to manage those this year. All right, thank you, Matt. Does anybody have any questions about FY26 before we jump into the FY27 requests? And if you have questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt me. We do have quite a few of the SIU executive directors on the call, so that's fantastic. If you have questions that I can't answer, probably they can. All right, so we will move into FY27 requests. Matt, if you could just bring those up, if you could bring up Addison first, and I'll just do a really quick little overview. I'm not going to go through every budget request line by line, but I'm hoping that you all had time to review the documents that I sent out on Thursday. I know it's not much time and it was a lot of information. I apologize for that on a holiday weekend. But jumping right into Addison, Addison is requesting the 120,000 amount for program support. They are also requesting the standard $60,000 law enforcement request, grant request. They have a partnership with Middlebury PD. That's been going really well. They have one executive director, Trish, who is on the call. She's 40 hours a week, and she has a victim advocate 20 hours per week. Trish is an excellent director. She has done so much work rebuilding her board, basically from the ground up. She's just done a great job with that. And she's had her work cut out for her with the state's attorney's office. I'm sure you all know there were some issues down in Addison, and she's worked through those with, having not a lot of communication with the state's attorney's office, but she's done a really, really great job with that. Does anyone have questions about Addison's budget grant request? Okay, let's move on to Bennington. Bennington is requesting $115,500. Their director, Jenna Caslin, is on the call today. She is 40 hours. They have a 15-hour per week administrative assistant. They've got an excellent partnership with Bennington PD for the law enforcement grant. Jenna has been around for a number of years. She's an excellent director. She does a ton of community service outreach type of work, and she's just sort of everywhere. I don't know how she does it all, quite frankly. But the budget looks good. Jenna's also really good at getting other, researching and finding additional grants to do new things. So let's see, does anybody have any questions about Bennington? All right, let's move on to Caledonia. Caledonia is requesting $112,615 for their program support grant and the $60,000 law enforcement grant. They partner with St. Johnsbury PD. They get 45,000 of the 60, and then Hardwick PD gets 15,000 of the 60. They have a relatively new executive director, Jeff Maney. I don't think he's on the call today. He does 40 hours per week, and he has created a position for a half-time victim advocate that he is working on hiring at present. Jeff is retired law enforcement. He really had his work cut out for him because the former director left, I think, in October, and Jeff wasn't hired for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months. So their bills weren't paid. Grant reports weren't submitted. He had a real mess to clean up. No one's fault, really. The position was just vacant for a long time. He's really done a phenomenal job of that. He's got a good relationship with the state's attorney's office, and things seem to be going well. He had a lot of questions this year, with this being his first grant request, but looks good to me. Does anyone have questions about Caledonia?
Hey, Siri, I should have asked this question on Addison. Can you just explain the law enforcement grant to me again? Where does that come from, and who makes those decisions?
The law enforcement grant is just a standard $60,000 grant. I've only been here for a year and a half, so I don't know how far this goes back, but I know that it's been $60,000 per program for many years. That amount hasn't gone up in a long time, but every program is eligible except Chittenden. Chittenden does have their own in-house detectives, so they're not eligible for the law enforcement grant, but the other 11 are eligible. They have to have a partnership, an application and an MOU with one or more law enforcement agencies who agree to dedicate one or more detectives, at least part-time, to the SIU to investigate their cases.
Thank you. And those are not grants that we have oversight over. Those are.
We do.
We do. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Sure. And that's all part of general fund dollars, like the program support.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay, Caledonia. Let's move on to the next. I think next is Franklin. Chittenden. Oh, we haven't done Chittenden. Sorry about that. Chittenden, as I mentioned, they are not eligible for the law enforcement grant because they do have, I don't know, like 7 or 8 detectives in-house, something like that. It's a busy county, as we all know. They are requesting $120,000 in program support. They have a full-time interim executive director, and that's Dan Boyer, who is on the call. Dan is retired law enforcement, and he was doing the case coordinator position part-time, 25 hours per week, when the former executive director was let go. And Dan stepped into the position thinking it was going to be temporary, and he's been there for almost a year. And he has had another tremendous mess to clean up. Same thing. Some bills weren't paid. a lot of things weren't submitted that were supposed to have been, and he's been great at figuring things out and talking with other directors, and has really, really done a good job. And I hope they hire someone soon so he can go back to semi-retirement, but he has done a phenomenal job. Any questions about Chittenden? Okay, let's move on to Franklin. Newsy. Oh, I have Lamoille next. Sorry, I guess I was a little out of order here. So Lamoille, Tracy Patno is the executive director. She is on the call. Tracy is a one-woman show at 40 hours. She does everything. She cleans the place. She does victim advocacy. Tracy literally does everything. And she's sort of my go-to whenever we have new directors with questions. I say, go call Tracy. She'll know. Sorry, Tracy. Anyway, Lamoille is asking for 120,000. They have a partnership with Morristown PD, Stowe PD, and the Sheriff's Department, which has seemed to work really well in the past few years. They sort of divide it. They have a detective from each of the three agencies. They kind of divide up the work, and it's definitely worked well. Does anyone have questions about Lamoille? Okay, moving on to Orange. Orange.
Siri, can I stop you
yeah.
for just a second?
course.
I'm just wondering, I've been thinking this as I've heard you do presentations on each of these things. Could you talk about the victim advocacy support for each of these programs? I know you mentioned it with one or two, but like with Bennington, I wondered how they have victim support. Anyway, if you could mention those as you go through it, I'm interested in how their victim advocate positions work.
Okay, and I am actually not sure about Bennington, but Jenna is on the call. Jenna, if we could put you on the spot to discuss that.
Yeah, so I'm dual role. So my signature sign off says I'm the executive director and victim advocate. So I worked here for 7 years as it was called case coordinator, but it was our center victim advocate prior to becoming director. And we just had so much turnover in that position where it was kind of someone would start, they would get some experience, they would go work for DCF. They would start, get some experience, go work for another organization where they could make more money than they could make here. So I had proposed to my board and talked with Siri and Vermont Center for Crimes Victim Services to make sure it would be kosher for me to do both. So I'm the executive director, I'm the victim advocate, I'm the prevention educator.
As I said, she does it all. Just backing up, Addison does have an advocate 20 hours per week. Caledonia is posting for an advocate for 20 hours per week. Chittenden, they have an interesting and unique partnership with the state's attorney's office, where they actually have a state's attorney victim advocate in-house full-time, which is great. And then they have the case coordinator position at 25 hours per week, which Dan will jump back into once they hire someone. Lamoille, Tracy is, as I said, a sort of a one-person show, but she does utilize the advocates from the Clarina Howard Nichols Center, and that's been a really good relationship. They work on all the SIU cases, except, I think, Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's an adult case, then you fill in as the advocate, correct?
Lorena really handles all the sexual assault, sexual abuse, and I usually do the serious physical injury, or if they're not able to make it here, then I fill in. But we really rely on them for all the sexual abuse cases.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Okay, moving on to Franklin County Newsy. They are requesting 120,000 for the program support grant and the 60,000 law enforcement grant. They have a partnership with St. Albans PD, who will be getting 42 of the 60,000, and Swanton PD, who will be getting 18 of the $60,000. We're working on a partnership with the Grand Isle Sheriff's Department because they are eligible for a $20,000 reimbursement grant. They don't have anyone right now who can currently fill that, but Samantha is working on it. Let's see, Samantha is the director. She is on the call. She works 30 hours per week. There is an in-house victim advocate, an SIU victim advocate, Kelly Woodward, who was a state's attorney advocate for years and years. She's fantastic. She's 25 hours per week. And Samantha is relatively new. She's been doing a great job. She's had a lot to figure out because the former director left before she started. So she's been kind of self-taught and doing really a great job. Any questions about Newsy? Okay, moving on to Orange. Orange County is requesting $108,730 for program support. They are not currently asking for the law enforcement grant. They have not found a partnership that works for them in their area. They currently work with state police and they love state police and they really don't want to change things at this point. They are, of course, eligible for that at any time if that changes. They have a brand new executive director. Her name is Jen Messier. She just started a couple of weeks ago. I've been working with her a lot on the grant request, and she's been great. She picked it up really quickly. Jen works 40 hours a week, and she has a victim advocate that works with them 20 hours per week. So, and the advocate is brand new as well. So new staff, it's encouraging and exciting. Any questions about Orange?
Siri, I wondered why would the state police be eligible to apply for that law enforcement grant if they're doing all of the work for that, if they have a dedicated officer?
Nope, they've never been eligible for the grant because they have to do that anyway, is what I was told when I started, that state police is not eligible. They have to do it. If there's no one to do these investigations, it always falls back on state police. That is part of their role. So having the law enforcement grant with another department is just sort of above and beyond what is normally expected with these cases. Yeah, a lot of people ask that question though, because it doesn't really seem fair, especially if they're doing all of those cases.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any authority to ask someone about changing that, but I'm sure that I'm sure the state police would appreciate it if we at least looked into whether that was possible, given that the Orange County has selected the state police to be their primary enforcement, which is different than all the other counties. So I'm just curious if that's
Sure.
If that's possible.
I'll look into it. Absolutely. Might be a conversation with our new board member, Captain Barber. Okay, and Jenna, I think Jenna had her hand up. Yes.
Yeah. I put my hand up just because I've been here for 14 years now, and we've always had, and I know some other CACs have, we have our local municipality that we get the grant for, but we also have a detective from Vermont State Police that has an office here. So we have the two. And I know Rutland has always had, their local and Vermont State Police. So we've always had access to VSP here without that grant funding. So I think that would be important to look into.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Jenna. I appreciate it. Okay. Did we have any questions about Orange? Right, let's move on to Orleans County. And we have Executive Director Lynn Brochu on the call. Lynn works 40 hours per week, and she has a brand new victim advocate who will be working 30 hours per week. Lynn is requesting $119,000 $171 for the program support grant. She is also requesting the $60,000 law enforcement grant, and she has a partnership with the Orleans County Sheriff's Department as well as the Newport Police Department. Lynn is also a relatively new executive director, and is doing a fantastic job. Any questions about Orleans? Okay, moving on to Rutland. Rutland is requesting 120 for program support, and they haven't had a law enforcement request for a number of years, and they got a partnership this year, brand new with Rutland City PD. So I'm really excited about that. I've been working with them on that, and that's good. So they are asking for the $60,000 for that. Mary Nichols is the executive director. She is full-time at 40 hours, and she also has a full-time victim advocate / program coordinator / administrative assistant, Crystal Parker. She's 40 hours as well. Things are going pretty well in Rutland. They do have some challenges with their board. They have had the same board members for a long time. So that's kind of their next goal, is working on maybe getting some new board members and shaking things up a bit there. Any questions on Rutland? Okay. Washington County, also known as Our House. Washington is requesting $120,000 for the program support grant and $60,000 for law enforcement. They have a longstanding partnership with Berry City PD. Washington's executive director is Rebecca Duranlo. She is full-time. She's been there for quite a few years, and she's great, a very well-established SIU program. Rebecca has a victim advocate who works 30 hours per week, and they have been branching out with some community outreach. And last year they got an in-house therapist, which we don't pay for, but it's been going really, really well. Having somebody in-house that children can be referred to right away. That's sort of something that a lot of programs aspire to, and it's been going really, really well for Washington County. Any questions on Washington?
Siri, not
Siri.
for today. I mean, I know we don't have time to talk about this, but I'd be really interested in learning more about how Washington went about getting that therapist and whether that's a model that might work for other SIUs.
Yeah, definitely. And Newsy has an interesting and really valuable partnership with a therapist who works in their office a couple days a week and prioritizes their clients as well. And that's been working really well. I would love to see that in all the SIUs. I mean, it is financially, it's hard to get there, but I will certainly look into that with Rebecca and report back and see what we can do about that. But I know a lot of people are moving toward that goal, because really it's hard to get into counseling, especially counselors that work with children. They're all full and there's a long waiting list. So absolutely.
Siri, can you walk through the columns here? I've been looking at each of them, and they kind of bounce around and don't always reflect the numbers at the top. And I'm guessing it's just because I don't understand like this. So as we look at Washington here, the board approved budget, the SIU program support grant, VOCA, and then like law enforcement grant, other funds, like where's other funds showing up in the board approved budget or in the top revenue? Can you just explain each of the columns?
Sure, absolutely. So the board approved budget is, pretty self-explanatory. The executive directors build the budget and then they bring it to their board for approval. Sometimes they make some adjustments, but then they submit it to us, which is what you're seeing.
Okay.
Now, we are the largest grant that they apply for. So in this particular situation, the red column is SIU program support grant. That she's asking for 120,000. So the next column is VOCA. VOCA is some federal funding. That amount for most programs is 38,500. They often use that for salaries and or rent, a few other things like that. The law enforcement grant is the law enforcement grant. Other funds is typically like town appropriations and fundraising. Those are the other funds that people use to fill in the gaps. So they use our grant covers most things, then VOCA sort of fills in what we don't, and then they fundraise and get other grants and what have you, just to fill everything in. So you'll see, for instance, the executive director salary is 84,000 plus. The SIU grant pays 68,000 of that, and then VOCA covers some of it, and then it looks like they have other funds. Sorry, that's in yellow. It's really hard to read. I'm going to change that color for next year. But typically they have to sort of piece things together to cover all their expenses. Does that answer your question, Ted?
It does. And like this one doesn't show the law enforcement grant, whereas others have. Is there a reason that is it because it's just a pass through and it's not funding? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, most of them do have it on there. I didn't notice that it wasn't on Rebecca's, but yeah, no, it's just pass through. They really don't do anything with it other than pay the law enforcement agency or agencies. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Any questions, other questions about Washington? We're almost done here. Okay, moving along to Windham County. Windham is requesting 120,000 in program support and the $60,000 law enforcement grant. They have a partnership with Brattleboro PD, who receives 45,000, and Dover PD, which receives 15,000. Executive Director Sam Prince is transitioning down to 20 hours per week. She has been 40. She's moving to 20 hours, and they're in the process of hiring a victim advocate / case coordinator who will be doing 40 hours per week. As some of you know, we did have some issues with Windham County this year, and their board really stepped up and helped out a lot, kind of got things under control. And that's been going a lot better. I had a meeting with Sam and their board treasurer, Mike Student, recently. It was a good meeting. They had a lot of questions about what the grant would cover and what it wouldn't cover. And I feel like that they submitted a pretty reasonable budget request here. Does anyone have questions about Windham? Okay. Let's move on to Windsor. Last but not least, Windsor. And Windsor is interesting. They fall under the umbrella of the Family Place, which is a child advocacy center. So the SIU is sort of under that umbrella. They are requesting 120,000 in program support and the $60,000 law enforcement grant. They have a law enforcement partnership with Hartford PD and Springfield PD. They sort of mimicked Lamoille in how they do a partnership with multiple agencies, and that has gone pretty well. Last year was the first year they did it, went well, hoping to continue that again this year. And the Family Place has a program coordinator who also does most of their forensic interviews. She is 40 hours per week. And then they have an SIU program manager who is also 40 hours per week, amongst other staff who work under the Family Place umbrella. And it's kind of a completely restructured program. They restructured in FY26 and things have been going really well. Any questions about Windsor? I know I'm talking really fast. I'm trying to get done before Doug has to leave, and I think he has to leave really soon. Okay. I think we should, while Doug is still here, I think we should vote on the budgets for this year. And my question is, do we want to vote on all of the budgets together, or would you like to go through and vote on them separately? If we do vote on them together, we'll just have to leave Orleans out, because Jen will have to recuse herself since she's on the Orleans board. We could vote on all the rest together, or we can go through them one by one. Totally up to you. What would you like to
I
do?
would, my preference is voting them as a group and separating out Orleans so that Sheriff Harlow can recuse herself on that while we still have Doug here. And I would entertain a motion for us to do that if someone wanted to make that motion to vote on all the budgets, save Orleans as a secondary vote.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Sheriff Harlow makes that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
And thank you very much, Doug. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of moving forward in that way, raise your hand. Say hi. Hi. Okay, any opposed? Okay, any abstaining? Okay. So I think the first motion would be to approve of the budgets except for Orleans, and we'll take that as a first action item, and I would entertain that motion. Moved by Sheriff Harlow. I hear a second.
Second it.
Thank you. Seconded by Carolyn Hanson. Any discussion? Okay. And all those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay. Any abstaining? And now with Sheriff Harlow recusing herself on this as a board member from Orleans, I would entertain a motion to approve of the Orleans County request and budget. I would entertain that motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ted Brady. Thank you so much. And any discussion? Great. Thank you. I'll just note for the record, Sheriff Harlow will abstain, and then all of those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Okay. All those opposed, and then any abstentions? Sheriff Harlow is abstaining. Great. So those carry. I really appreciate you all doing this in 40 minutes. And Doug, thank you so much for sticking around. The one thing I wanted to mention, and Doug, you can feel free to, we can download on this later too. What I wanted to briefly mention about training for the upcoming year is there's a couple categories. One is the forensic training that we provide to people that do interviews. And that was very well attended this year. And I want to thank Siri and others that work with all of you for helping make sure that's always successful. And it was great to see people. I stopped by and it was great to see people just engaging so actively in that process. And thank you so much, Siri, for making sure that was successful. And if people want to hear more about that, Siri can give you the full details. Secondary area of training I was really interested in doing, and so all of your knowledge spans this, is doing a training for, particularly, we have some longtime board members and executive directors, but a board training for local board members about the management of a local board, everything from bylaws to the rules to civility to fiduciary practices, all of that sort of thing. And so we are going to look into that and we'd love to have as much participation as possible. And so Siri and I are going to research, but if you have ideas about good trainers, ideally cheap or free is the best, but who are willing to sort of expand what they're doing to look into our world. There's also an annual nonprofit conference that United Way partners in putting on. And I forget when they do it, but it does fill up pretty quickly. But if you all are seeing opportunities like that in your community, where there's a training, could even be a municipality, looking at what Ted does on sort of management of local budgets and that sort of thing. There's a lot of crossover. What you all do is really an intermunicipal creative space in statute, but it's something I'm interested in trying to figure out on a yearly basis. board management, really, and supporting the staff that works so hard all year round. Because I know boards can change all over the place, and then it's starting from scratch sometimes. So we're looking into that, and if you have ideas, please send them into Siri. And then another area is trainings regarding collaboration and interagency work. So where we see it, there's the one case where we need the expert, and the expert worked in another county, and wow, it would be great to have them help in this other county. That sort of interagency collaboration, which you do all the time, if you think that there's beneficial tabletops or round tables, we're always happy to help convene and find like spaces for that sort of activity, rather than just running through it when you're in the emergency itself. So just let us know. We do think that the tabletop types of exercises can be really helpful with hypotheticals in particular. So those are some areas we're looking at for the coming year. And please be in touch with Siri on those. And Siri, anything, I know you're going to be sort of limited in the next month or so. Anything you wanted to say from your end?
About the training? No. We did have a couple, we had the BFI training, the forensic interview training that we have every year, and that filled up, which was fantastic. We got 40 people trained. And we did have a board training early in the year, which I think went really well. And I have a recording of that if anyone wants to see it. But I think we want to start doing sort of more specific, like you said, Tim, bylaws and fiduciary responsibilities for local boards. I think it's important to do it every year. And at some point, we may make that a requirement of the grant. I just think there are a lot of board members that, as I mentioned earlier, have been around for a long time. And it's either time to move on or, get trained up. So that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, we'll certainly be working on that.
Good. Well, thank you. And any new business? And what we'll do is, if we figure out some of the training opportunities, we'll distribute information. It's possible we'll hop on a quick call and just talk through stuff if we need to as a board. And yeah. Not hearing any new business. Any public comment? And I want to echo, yes, Siri is very responsive for the comment in the chat. Thank you so much, Siri. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Siri and I both started in our newish roles. We were both in the SAS world, but we both started in our new roles roughly the same time. So Siri has been riding the waves with us here at EDO and with me. So I'm very appreciative. Great. Well, hearing no public comment, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to
I'll make that
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry,
Move to
Carolyn.
adjourn by
I'll second
Carolyn.
it.
Seconded by Sheriff Harlow. Great. Any discussion? Great. All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Okay. And I'm not seeing any abstentions or denials. So we'll see you all next time. And thank you all very much for all that you do. And good to see the directors on this call as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Yes,
everybody.
thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Appreciate your
everyone.
Thank you,
time.
Siri.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Sure, you can stop the recording. I sometimes forget to do that. Just in the more actions ...
Got it.